Hi everyone, welcome. We're just going to go through some additional basic operations that are covered inside of the slides as well. The first one we're going to do is just a rename operation. We did this a bit in the previous videos as well, but essentially there's an as keyword that we can do to rename some type of construct that we're putting in as something new. So essentially, if I have instructor, I can get an output as a new name for it there. So find the names of all instructors who have a higher salary than some instructor in comp sci. We could say select distinct, and these type of operations we'll look at later too, but these are essentially where every name that you're given back from a row, or excuse me, from a column in your query is distinct from this clause instructor as T and an instructor as S. So what this does for us here is actually create two different instructors, but we can reference them as T and S rather than the instructors dot. So again, we could say something like select star from instructor as T, and then this one was instructor as S. We could do T dot salary, sorry about that, is greater than, let's see if this does something for us here. Cool. And we'll get two different tables here that we're outputting where we have these two different tables of instructor where T dot salary, which is this one, Sarah here's 45, is greater than the S one over here too. So again, a little bit more confusing than we need it to be where we're having these two variables compared for it. The main thing that I want you to know is that when we use the as operation, we can rename something where we can do that comparison later on. Great. So we looked at some of the previous stuff with rename operations. I just want to show you some pattern matching operations, and then also there's this idea of concatenation, string length and extracting substrings. If you had experience working with strings in Python or C and any of these, it has the same stuff that we do here. I just want to show you a brief example of how pattern matching can work for you. So if we go ahead and look at all the students in our student table, we might try to ask a question such as select name from students, and I want to say give me everyone with a name that starts with M. So what we could say here, select a name from student where my name, where my name, the actual column that I'm looking at in student, like. So I'm going to say instead of is equal to or is like, where name like, and then I can put in my quotes here, and I can add in this type of function. And these percentages are kind of wildcards. So they pretty much say whatever is before or whatever's after. I'm only going to try to look for something that has this as its substring. So if I actually try to run this guy here, we'll see here that I get Mark Brown and Matthew. You'll notice if I delete something in front of it and I try to run it again, I get nothing, because this would say that someone's name has to end with the capital letter M. Okay. And notice as well that this is going to be capital. So if I go ahead and I actually make this as a lowercase m, I'll get someone like Liam or Jane Smith that has this an M somewhere inside of their name, okay? If I also wanted to try to find where I could see if someone else has a name that's capital, I could say something like or name like, then I could do this lower or uppercase M. Let's see if this works. And now I get all four of them, okay? The case sensitive one is a little bit trickier, or sorry, the underscore one, because this is actually pattern matching. So if I do something where I say select name from student or name like, and I go ahead and I put an M here and I put one underscore after it, this is going to cause me an issue. I'm not going to get any feedback back because what this is looking for is an M with at least three things after it, or sorry, an M with one character after it. And unfortunately, with Mark Brown, we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, because the space is character, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And with Matthew here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I actually put in 6 underscores, let's see if this actually works for us here. I get Matthew back because it's pattern matching. But again, you don't want to kind of do this for him. That's where the percentages come in. But this is useful if you're looking for people with tree letter names. Let's try to see if any of these come up for us here. We're not getting anyone with the tree letter name, but essentially trying to pattern match something. Let's try to find 4-letter names maybe without a specifier here. So this will give us everyone with at least 4 characters in their name, okay? So that's the difference between these two, and they can also be used together. So essentially, if I wanted to also do a wild card and then have this one here, I would say give me any substring before it, and then as long as there's tree characters at the end. A little more confusing, but essentially this will fill up as many strings as it needs to complete the tree at the end, and that should work for us. Great. So in this little part, we just want to look at case constructs, and essentially these are our if-else statements in our programming logic. For these, we essentially have an input schema, and what we might get is something like a name and salary, and we might get an output here of a name and a maybe customer group. So the general flow of your case constructs is you're going to do your select and from normally so that you know where you're actually picking up the data from. But before you do your from, you're going to insert this function called a case. And a case is going to let SQL know that we're looking at specific aspects inside of our code to make sure it's working okay. So what we're going to do here is select the star from instructor. And what I want to do is something a bit similar to our SQL code slides, but instead of saying something like customer group, let's just see if someone beneath 45K can get a raise or not. So I have their names here from everything too, but I also want to be outputting something that says raise statistics or something. So what we could do here, per normal, is select name from instructor, and I'm actually going to copy the type of code that we have here. Now, you can type this out as it is here, or you can put everything on a single line. So SQL doesn't care about white space or how you function with it. To let SQL know that you're doing a case, you're going to put a comma after your last select statement of what you want to select, and then you're going to do the keyword case. And what you're going to do from here is you're going to type out your keyword when. And I'm going to say, let's say salary is less than 45K. And similar to our case studies over here, we can make something like a then or an else. I could say when salary is less than 45K, then maybe give raise. And then we could say something else if we don't want to give them the raise. Maybe they have that certain salary already. We could say no raise. After we do this, we're going to say something called end as. And what you say here, I could say something like raise stats, something like this, is going to be the name of the column that gets outputted with this functional condition. So if I go ahead and I run this query, you'll see that for each person in my raise stats and stuff too, I can get this give raise or no raise. If I want to make this a bit more accessible too, I can actually put in my salary here. But look what happens again. If I try to run this, I get a syntax error near the when. What I always need to do is put my comma before my case statement to make sure that my code runs. So now we can actually see the salaries that we have, and we're giving everyone a raise that's underneath 45K. I could try to do something like this here. Let me try to type out something with a space. Now, if I put a space in there, it might not work because it's going to think it's 2 parts. Let me try to put it as a string for us. Let's see if that works. So we're actually going to need to place this as a type of column by itself, essentially, with no string. It's also going to be lowercase here instead of the uppercase. So I'll just go back to the raise statistics. There we go. And this will give us the give raise. Okay. So that's essentially case statements. They're very powerful, and it helps you produce a new column with more information. The next thing that we can look at are these types of order bys as well. And I can actually just add these on to the end. Sorry about that. To our thing here. One more thing is that you can order by multiple names too, multiple aspects. But essentially, what I could type down here, let me see if my order by name will work. Let me get rid of this one. Cool. So my name is going to be here. And I can also try to do a tuple where I can order by name and salary. And so now my name is in alphabetical order, but my salary is still kind of out of place. If I swap these two around, you'll see that I actually ordered by my salary first there. Okay. Actually, let me get rid of the parentheses here too. Let's see what this gives for us. Still similar. It's going to order it first by my salary and then order it by the name after. Okay. So these are just basic operations. Again, it could be a little daunting at the start because there's a bit of nuance. But once you have this mastered and some other aspects of your joins, you should be good to go.